What you are about to hear will blow your mind and give you six-pack abs without even exercising.
Pull up a bar stool and relax.
Hey, who wants to have some fun?
You've made it to Happy Hour with John Gaskins.
Oh, no. Not again.
Get ready for entertaining local and regional sports talk that will change your life. Or not.
And by the way, when you're telling these little stories, here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
Here's your host, John Gaskins.
Here's Johnny. Hello! Ah!
I'm back, baby! I'm back!
They call him LaMelo Yellow. I don't know. That's all I got for you today. They made Trent
Donovan
laugh.
reference?
That's right, I guess. Welcome to LaMelo Day in the upper Midwest. The Minnesota Timberwolves have traded for LaMelo Ball to join Anthony Edwards in the backcourt, and it happened at 8:30 this morning. So, yeah, that's kind of a big deal. I think it keeps the train moving pretty well. I love it. It's going to be entertaining. Trent Singer and I are going to break that down. Plus, Eric Peterson, USD men's basketball coach.
Look at you dropping that early in the episode, John. I'm proud of you.
Special guest today. You inspired me. Just remembering that Trent reminds me every time. Eric Peterson, lot to talk about. Almost an entirely new roster.
Cordell's just way back there, too.
He is. His boss, John Schemmel, not extending his contract.
Cordell?
That ticked off. No, not extending Eric Peterson's contract. I think Cordell's pretty safe. I don't think John Schemmel has much to say about Cordell's future, but who knows? And Eric talked about that today. Not Cordell, but the fact that his contract wasn't extended. He's coaching for his job. I think we can all understand that. And so he's excited about his roster. He's not shying away from the situation that he's in, but everything's tenuous in mid-major basketball. So Eric Peterson today, and America, Game 3, World Cup tonight. Means nothing, but it's still fun. Damn fun team to watch. And the bigger picture is next Wednesday's knockout game in the round of 32. How far can this team go?
Yeah.
Jackson Rentschler, a bartender and manager here at Craven, will be joining us later to talk some World Cup and some Americans and the World Cup watch party. This is the official American Outlaws place. And Trent and I, neither of us have been here. In fact, we watched together at Orion last Friday in Game 2.
Good crowd.
But we've seen the pictures. This place is the spot, man.
It is. I kind of dig the environment in Orion. They opened a little early for Friday's game. This is a 2 o'clock game.
Yeah.
I dug the environment, but I'm going to come out here tonight and see what this one's all about.
Good.
My wife and I are going to come out and have a couple drinks.
We're recording this on a Thirsty Thursday. So, by the way, happy
Cheers.
Thirsty Thursday. I got a little carbless watermelon in my
with ice on ice
in my Team USA cup
on the rocks.
Mick Ultra, the official beer of the World Cup here. So, the Mick Ultra will be flowing. But they got Busch Light and Bud Light. Don't worry, Americans. Got plenty of all the domestic lights on tap here tonight. I don't think they've been run dry like the Scottish beer that was run dry
out in Boston.
But indoor, outdoor seating, TVs everywhere, big screen TV outside. The biggest, most hardcore soccer fans in town will be here, and the casuals have picked up on it as well. So, a lot of you are going to be watching and listening to this probably after the game, into Friday. Fortunately, we don't feel like much of the conversation there is obsolete because, again, the Americans know that they've advanced and they're in good shape. So, but we will talk soccer with Jackson later. Also, Sioux Falls, supposedly one of the 5 finalists to host an NCAA play-in tournament couple of days to join Dayton in the fray in the expanded field. And we'll get to how we feel about Sioux Falls' chances, what the other cities are. But Trent, dude, it's always great during the dog days of summer just to get a big news bomb dropped in our
Shams
laps.
bomb.
A sham bomb from ESPN. First to report that LaMelo Ball will be joining the Minnesota Timberwolves. They will have a true point guard after all. I love it. I know people who hate it. What do you think of it as a guy who's not really a Wolves fan?
I mean, the reaction's going to be what it is when you trade away a fan favorite like Naz Reid, right?
Yeah.
And
yes.
I'm kind of I'm seeing so many negative responses to this from like national guys. You know, Nick Wright's a LaMelo hater through and through, doesn't like it. There's a lot of guys out there who have graded this trade pretty roughly, but the more and more
labeling the Timberwolves as desperate,
yeah,
which they kind of are.
Well, I mean, okay, I'll get to that.
Yeah.
The more and more I look at this, though,
and that's okay.
It really is. The more and more I look at this, though, I see the vision that Tim Connelly's kind of going for here.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about freeing Ant, really. You know, from these double teams that he sees night in, night out, especially in the playoffs we're seeing. And really, you saw the ball really slow down offensively when they just ran out of options. I thought the Randall trade was I thought it was smart to kind of do the salary dump there and move on.
Yeah.
Basically missing out on your trade that you did for Cat. Now this one hits a little different though because Naz was such a fan favorite in Minnesota, and you know I think that's where a lot of people are gonna immediately be like, oh my God, no, you can't. Not Naz. He's not the problem, and Naz isn't the problem really. But you have, in order to acquire somebody who can unlock Ant, you have to make a move like that.
Here's how I feel, and I am not a diehard, so I'm not as emotionally attached to Naz Reid, and I think this helps me in that situation because my friend Johnny Ops, who joins all of our Timberwolves talks, him and Chris Johnson, I can read you back the text thread and live vicariously through them.
You already tweeted
Most
that
days
out.
we would have them on to react to a huge event like this, but we just had Chris on yesterday to react to what had happened up until LaMelo, mainly the Julius Randle trade. And you can go back and listen because Chris is very entertaining. But, yeah, I mean, John's like, this is the end of the world. He called this the beginning of the end of the Timberwolves because Melo's an idiot, low IQ. But I think it's more because Johnny Ops is one of those diehard Wolves fans, and they're going to have horrible separation anxiety from Naz Reid. And to what you just said, can they really get rid of their best player? To quote Barack Hussein Obama, yes, they can. Yes, in fact, they should. Naz Reid was a great player. He was a glue guy. He was a backup power forward. He was the best in the league, but he was a backup. In order of importance of to the Wolves' success, where did Naz Reid fall in the last year? What was his ceiling? Maybe the fourth most important guy on the best nights? Okay, what did they need the most to compete with the San Antonio Spurs and to actually get over the hump, reach the NBA Finals? God damn it, this is the... It's a miracle that they're getting 6 games into a semifinals without a true point guard.
Yeah.
This is the NBA.
Look what the
Every
Knicks
level
just
of basketball.
Look what the Knicks just did.
It helps to have a true point guard. The only teams that bring up the ball, with a point guard by committee without a true point guard are ones that, where the point guard's injured or something. You got to have one.
Yeah.
And in LaMelo Ball, you get a guy who is young like Anthony Edwards, but has been in the league.
24 years old.
They came in the same draft together. Yep. They're both top 3 draft picks, and he might be dumb. He might be careless, and blah, 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 blah. He can score. He can pass. Yeah. And he get pace of play. Huge issue for the Wolves because Ant half the times bring up the ball, and he brings it up slowly. And if you look at the Hornets' last 4 months, they had the highest scoring team in the NBA. LaMelo Ball's distributing it high volume, 3-point shooter. Chris Finch believes in analytics, man, and he believes that you need to shoot a lot of threes and make a lot of threes. Well, the Wolves were a little bankrupt of that, severely bankrupt of that, and you really need that when you're trying to beat the San Antonio Spurs and you can't really get around Wemby closer to the rim. You need to hit outside shots. Mm-hmm. LaMelo Ball's going to provide not only his own ability to do that, but freeing up Ant, as you said, on threes and everything else. Plus, he knows how to get, there's analytics that go down to corner threes, and like the Hornets were one of the best at that. You need a point guard that sets guys up to get open for all that stuff. I'm not saying he's the second coming of Magic Johnson here.
There's still a lot of work to be done in his game. But I will, none of this goes through Ant, right? Or none of this goes through without Ant's kind of a blessing, right?
Yes.
And so I think it's worth noting that he's, this is something that I think Anthony Edwards wanted too. And on top of that, it's going to be fun. You mentioned it.
So much fun.
This guy's electric. He averaged 7 assists last season. He played his best team ball last year too. I think that's worth noting too. That's kind of what they've been wanting to see is him play more of a team game, and he took a step in the direction. Was it a big step? Certainly not, but he definitely took a step. Look at that.
Hey. All right. Oh, Cap. Okay. Here we go. Tell them what you're seeing there.
We got a Jim Beam USA
a jersey. Okay.
Yep. It's like a cape.
Thank you. So that means I put it on the other one. Okay.
This is why you watch the show, folks.
Yeah.
Look at that.
This is great radio.
No. Anyways.
I got the cape
on. Keep that thing on.
Jackson just gave me a Team USA cape, so there we go. Jim Beam on the back.
Yep.
SiouxFallsLive.com. SiouxFallsLive.com.
You can see it all.
Watch the show. Watch the show at SiouxFallsLive.com or with your subscription to Midwest Sports Plus on the Midwest Sports Plus app.
What I was saying, though.
Sorry.
The availability is going to be a big thing. He's played 2 full seasons. Been in the league 6 years. Can he play a full season? That's going to be a big question mark.
72 games last year.
72 games.
So he's coming off a season where he was healthy. Should be a good sign.
I really and still the big question mark for me is what are you going to do at that 4 spot? I love Josh Green. He's part of this deal too.
Yeah.
And I still think that there are moves still to be made here. Now on the flip side of this too, and we alluded to it a little bit, it's a risky move. But I will say the only thing that you can do in this situation if you're the Wolves is to make a risky move. You can't sit on your hands and wait for a championship to come. You have to go out and be proactive in roster build to do it. The Wolves are doing that. Some teams in the West are not doing that. Everybody's looking at the Nuggets like when are the Nuggets going to finally do something to stay in contention here? And that's the bigger thing that I see when you look at this conference. Yeah. If you're in the West, you have to compete with arguably 2 of the best teams in the league.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's the Spurs and it's the Thunder, and they may be the 2 best teams.
And Chris Johnson mentioned yesterday, the Thunder are kind of they look like they were set up for years, and already kind of feel like they can't keep everybody they got.
It moves quick, man.
And so we had this whole conversation yesterday, and again, Chris is illuminating and entertaining, and so I still encourage you to listen to it. But we were kind of like, is this really it? Is this really so? Io is a de facto point guard, and Anthony, and they're going to bring the ball up together. And they signed Io to a $22.5 million a year deal. And I guess this is it. Io and Ant in the backcourt. And then you got the untouchable Jade McDaniels, the power forward. Now Nas is a starter, and Rudy Gobert. And that was not it. With Tim Connolly, it hardly ever is it. He makes a whopper almost every year.
Well, I thought
because he wants to win a title.
And doing this straight too, not giving up Rudy is fascinating to me, right?
So far, I mean, of course, there's speculation that certainly not all the dominoes have fell yet. That there could be deals for Rudy, and who's going to be your power forward now? Now you don't have Nas.
Can I throw a name out there?
Yeah.
If this guy wants to win one more championship, why not? Bring the king to Minnesota. I'm not kidding you.
I mean, okay, that'd be incredible.
Make it happen.
It's a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
That's a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
But I will say,
there's not enough ball to go around.
If LeBron wants to win another championship, this is a really, really ideal spot for him.
It's clearly a better option than the Lakers in that regard.
Yeah.
Lakers have been early exits. Wolves knocked him out.
Chemistry-wise, I don't know. I don't know how he is on a team when you have 2, brash personalities like Ant and LaMelo, but it's going to be a fun team regardless. That's a hell of a backcourt, man.
Yeah, it is. It'll be fun to watch. And look, you get Josh Green. I think people are undervaluing that. They're not really talking about that as part of this trade.
I agree.
In addition to Reed, the Hornets receive stuff. 2023 unprotected first-round pick, 3 second-round picks. Charlotte also gets first-round pick swaps.
That's
the
why
NBA. Don't worry about second-round draft picks. Who cares?
This is why I'm also baffled by some of these grades on this trade too, because they're absolutely obliterating the Wolves in some of these, and then they're saying the Hornets are like a A or a B plus, and I'm like, what did the Hornets really get out of this? I mean, in terms, they lost a star player.
Yeah.
I know they have a lot of guys to build around. You got Kobe White. There's stuff there, but I don't know, man. It's Naz Reid. He's a great player, but he's not the most consistent player. He's a glue guy. I mean, you mentioned all that stuff, but I just don't know how this is such a win for them.
Other options, by the way, this is the best of the options that you had if you want to get a bona fide point guard onto your team. Which, by the way, now we know how it's hard to really ever do the calculus of the aprons and what's going on with the money and the trades, but Julius Randle was considered a salary dump. Well, no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It freed up to sign Io to a much bigger deal, but not too big. In some people's minds, too big. And it freed you up to be able to afford LaMelo, who's about $45 million a year. That seems like a lot, but then Jaylen Brown's like the white whale point guard for everybody out there from the Celtics. He's $56 to $67 million.
Still got Terrence Shannon. You still got Dante DiVincenzo. I mean, you still got really solid pieces too outside of that. But
right.
I mean, Io's deal. You don't fully know the availability you're going to have with a guy like LaMelo Ball. He's playing a full season and stuff too. So it is important to invest a little bit there.
Ja Morant was out there, and I know you have a Ja Morant connection. You would have liked that. But do you think LaMelo Ball is a better option than Ja Morant?
At this point, this is probably the better option. I mean, quite literally, like, Ja's coming off a season where he wasn't the most efficient too, and then the injury, and it just hasn't been the same as what we saw his first few years in the league, and I don't know if it turns around. It just the game passes people up so quickly these days. And,
that's what we're all worried about. Rudy Gobert is when is he going to fall off the cliff? He's 33. He's been playing pro basketball for 15 years, but reports to Doogie, the Scoopmeister, a guy I trust, he's connected to other teams in the league plus Wolves sources. He says he continues to say that they're going to keep Rudy Gobert. That's off the table. But Tim Connolly has been a master, if anyone is, at just coming around the corner with something you didn't see coming, like the LaMelo Ball trade today. So you always kind of want to stay tuned when it comes to the Wolves and their roster. But this is just to finish the segment, just in lieu of our Timberwolves talkers, Johnny Ops and Chris Johnson. If you listen to this show regularly, you know him, you love him. All right. Let me see here.
This is good stuff.
This was it started last night. Yeah, I'll try to go as fast as I can.
God, your font size too. How old are you?
I'm blind. I'm deaf and blind. What? So I'll start with Chris Johnson, who saw the developing rumor last night at 10 p.m. that this was going to happen. He said, "I don't necessarily think this would work, but man, it would be entertaining."
Exactly.
And then he texted 8:36 this morning when it appeared that it was a real deal. He said, "I feel like Bluto in Animal House, just keeping saying holy shit over and over." And then Johnny Ops chimes in, "For Naz Reid, F word. That effing sucks. Trade Rudy, not Naz." To which Chris says, "Agreed, but Charlotte wanted Naz, so here we are. Got to find a starting four-man, but Ball, Anthony, and Jaden at 1, 2, 3, that'll be fun and great size to boot." At the guard spots.
Great size. 6'7", right?
Johnny Ops says, "Not a fan of the move whatsoever." Chris says, oh, never mind. Forget about that part. Johnny says, LaMelo Ball is a low IQ idiot. Fun to watch, sure, but that guy is so dumb. This is the beginning of the end. Facepalm. To which Chris says...
It very much could be.
Yes! As a casual fan, I'm just going to enjoy the hell out of all this. You know, I'm not as emotionally invested. Chris says, I agree that LaMelo's an idiot, but they have to have a point guard, and he can really pass. I don't think it's going to work out, but it'll be entertaining. And John says, Connolly is trying to put together the most low IQ team possible. I can't believe I'm going to have to cheer for that moron now. Good grief. To which CJ says, the only thing worse would have been having Harden up on that front.
Yeah.
Johnny says, yeah, dumb and old. Naz never got to start here. Wolves did him dirty. Chris says he will get Finch fired by the end of the year. But in a vacuum, you tell me, it's Randall or LaMelo. I take Ball in cause of position. The Naz part hurts, though. To which Johnny Opp says, what an odd offseason, by the way. Trade away Randall, seemingly so Reed can start and they can re-sign Io to be a starting point guard, then trade away Reed for a starting point guard. Seems counterintuitive. Io is a spendy bench piece. They got to move off DiVincenzo now, right? To which CJ says, gonna have to get a serviceable 4, right? Wish it was Rudy. He's a depreciating asset as far as, again, the player that Johnny Epps thinks the Wolves should have gotten rid of was Rudy. Depreciating asset. They don't have a 4 on the roster right now. This is all true. You don't have a power forward now that you get rid of Nas and Randall. CJ says Rudy didn't fit age-wise. Knipple and Miller like Nas did. Positive, better than taking on Ja, to which Johnny Epps says, could have gotten Ja for a bucket of chicken. It's a zero-sum game. Gave up the most beloved player on the roster. Half the fans will hate this guy. I guarantee it. See, this is why I love the fan reaction. I love Johnny Epps, and I get into Johnny Epps arguments with him all the time about all the Minnesota sports teams. And I have to say, you're too emotionally invested in this guy. People are going to hate. They will not hate LaMelo Ball if he plays well and the team wins.
Yeah.
And I just think the Wolves still feel like a 55, maybe, well, at least 45, probably 50, probably 55. Win team, a 2 or 3 seed with what they just did. You got to look at the big picture and not get wrapped up in this guy's an idiot or we're going to miss this guy because I loved him because he was a cult figure.
Second round is this team's floor, I think is what somebody told me. I think it stays that way, right? Like it's such a positionless game too. Maybe what's the value of a player at that power forward spot? I mean, you're not looking for anybody who's going to completely change the mold. You had like the people who are going to run your team offensively, and all the flow is going to go through those 2 guards. Yeah. And so I do think that you don't need. You just need a wing. Like you need a wing, and I like their size too, up and down too. When you look at Jaden at the 3, and obviously Rudy 6'11", 7 foot at that center spot. They've got really good size up and down. I'm really curious to see what they do at the 4, and hey,
Johnny,
knows, man.
Are you still enjoying the Johnny Epps, Chris Johnson thing?
Yeah, keep
okay,
going.
because Johnny thinks this is going to be a disaster. He puts money on this being the thing that ends up making Ant playing elsewhere eventually.
It could be.
It could. He's not wrong.
It could be 1 to 2 years away from that.
But
we really could.
CJ said possibly, but I also guarantee that Ant was consulted on this before they did it.
He 100% was.
These guys all know each other.
Yeah.
All these guys in the NBA know each other. They're buddies.
Yeah.
I got to think that Ant's a fan of LaMelo Ball.
Or at
least can tolerate him. CJ says, I think it's a fascinating both in a get your popcorn sort of way, scary as hell sort of way. I can see it going both ways, but I want all my game. I want all my game GMs to do it. All I want my GMs to do is go for it while they can. He did. We'll see how it works. So, I mean, I could go on. They go on and on and on.
Yeah. Like I said, you can't just sit on your hands. You have to do it, and you have to make risky moves, too, this time of the year. I mean, this is what you, as a GM, the only way to win a championship is to do that.
By the way, now they could get a power forward because of the Randall deal, which was a salary dump. They still have money to play with to possibly get a free agent at the power forward. Yeah. John Collins, Porzingis.
I saw Collins' name thrown around.
Yeah, a couple of them. Chris says he'd like to see the Wolves trade Rudy for P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford, but the Mavs have no reason at all to do that. So anyway, you probably got more than you want.
Yeah.
Out of I thought we did great on our own with Timberwolves talk today.
Hey, why not?
Not bad. But let's move on. Thank you, Cordell. Anything to add there, Cordell? No.
Cordell's the one over here with the vested interest.
Cordell wants to move on. Thumbs up or thumbs down on the ball thing? One or the other.
He's kind of
one or the other.
Are you more up?
He's more up.
Okay. Cordell's on board.
Me too. All right. Moving on. Hey, last American World Cup soccer game, you and I met at Orion downtown. Great downtown option to watch the games. And first thing you said when I walked in was, "Hey, did you hear about Sioux Falls NCAA tournament?"
Yeah, I had just seen the video. That's why
He had just seen this video from a guy I've never heard of that apparently works for CBS Sports, David Cobb.
I figured out that Albuquerque, Boise, Des Moines, Omaha, Sioux Falls, and Wichita are among those who have submitted bids to be hosts for this newly expanded opening round that'll be part of the 76-team NCAA tournament. And they all sort of share a similar DNA. They're mid-sized cities that don't have major professional sports, but they still have the infrastructure, the event hosting experience, the hotels, the restaurants, the facilities to host opening round games. as successfully as Dayton has over the years. And so it's interesting when you look at that list, also who is not on it. I can confirm that Denver and Las Vegas did not submit bids for this. So those are two of your major metropolitan areas, top 30 American cities that are within the geographic footprint that we knew the NCAA would be looking in as the expanded tournament takes hold. But they did not submit bids. They are not in the mix. From the looks of things, it's going to be one of these smaller to mid-sized cities.
So there you go. Sioux Falls is in the running, if we are to believe this guy, for...
And Jerry Pelesci. I mean, we've heard...
Yeah, thank you. Well, Sioux Falls did put in a bid. So, of course, in case you missed our couple of chats with Jerry Pelesci from Sioux Falls Sports Authority, Jerry P., the voice of the Coyote women's basketball team, Sioux Falls very much was bidding to be the next Dayton in this expanded NCAA men's tournament field of 76. Now you're going to have, Dayton had 8 teams, 4 games, 2 nights. Now you're going to have Dayton and another city, 24 teams total, 12 in each city, 6 games per city, 3 games a night. And so if you want to do this, obviously you're giving up your aspirations of having the round of 64 and the round of 32, which Sioux Falls has bid for. And basically this town has gotten everything short of the Final Four besides NCAA men's hoops. We've had hockey regionals and the Frozen Four. Mm-hmm. We've had hockey regionals, NCAA women's regionals. It's been almost a decade now. We know this, right? And we do it great. Summit League tournament is great. But can Sioux Falls take that next step? Well, I don't know if there were only 5 cities that actually bid. That could be the case. But the other 4 are cities that also do not have major professional sports teams in them. They are Omaha, Des Moines, Boise, and Albuquerque. And Wichita. Mm-hmm. Did I get that right? Omaha, Des Moines, Boise,
Albuquerque,
and Wichita. I mean, we just heard David Cobb say that. So Sioux Falls is the smallest of these cities. But you were so excited when you were telling me this last week. Like, do you still feel like Sioux Falls has a good chance? First of all, I'll say it's hard to say, but we can go through the reasons why they have a good chance and why they might not have a good chance.
Well, I still am of the same line of thinking where I feel like Sioux Falls is a comparable market to a place like Dayton. And if you're trying to find a place, that embodies that same atmosphere, that playing round atmosphere where you're going to have an awesome crowd on hand for those first games of the tournament, I think Sioux Falls has a good case in that regard. Now, you look at the population numbers, and they're not quite on that same playing field, right? Sioux Falls is probably closer to the smaller side. What is Dayton? Yeah, that's a good...
Dayton's got 800,000 plus people. Their arena seats 14,000, which is a little bigger than what we have here.
Yeah,
it's about 12.
So you're looking at Boise would be similar to that then?
Boise has a similar in-city limits population to Sioux Falls, like almost exact. They've got a bigger metro area, a much bigger metro area. But Omaha, is twice the size of Sioux Falls population-wise.
Yeah.
And that's, again, and then metro-wise, Omaha's about 1 million.
Yeah.
Hotels
are not an issue.
We're maybe 350,000 here.
Yeah.
Wichita is much bigger than Sioux Falls. Des Moines, Des Moines within the city limits is only 211,000.
Metro area.
The metro area, though, they have a much bigger suburban population there that gets them over 700,000, so more than twice of Sioux Falls. Now, how much does population matter? I don't know, because Boise has gotten plenty of first-round games in the NCAA tournament.
True, but remember, that's the time zone thing, too.
Yeah, the time zone, that's a great element to bring right into the forefront. Well, this is why Sioux Falls had a hard time. First of all, this is why I think Sioux Falls out of these cities still probably has the longest odds. These other cities have hosted NCAA men's tournament games before. Mm-hmm. They've done it, and the NCAA has come back. They've all done it multiple times, at least once. I think all of them more than twice.
That's a mountain time zone, Albuquerque.
So that, for one, I think hurts Sioux Falls. Also being in the central time zone was hurting Sioux Falls. It was an advantage to be a Boise or a Spokane, similar-sized cities but bigger than Sioux Falls, but they were in the western time zones for those late-night games. Sioux Falls was competing with Chicago, Minneapolis, Dallas, Birmingham, New Orleans, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, St. Louis. So many cities. You're not going to beat those cities, which is partly why Sioux Falls does have a much better chance of getting this than they had of getting the rounds of 64 and 32.
Right.
I guess we're just starting with the negatives, so I'll continue with why it's going to be a long shot. Mm-hmm. According to Jerry P., they do put a premium on the number of full-service hotels that you have in the city. This matters to people in the NCAA. It matters to the teams. By full-service hotels, it means you got to have a kitchen that can make a lot of food, like a real kitchen with a restaurant there on site in the hotel, plus a 4,000 square foot
meeting
space for meeting, sometimes literally practicing basketball in that space. 4,000 square feet, big convention/conference room.
Yeah.
Okay, and as far as I know, again, both cities are going to have 12 teams. How many of these types of hotels does Sioux Falls have? 5 or 6? I mean, you got 3 of them downtown. Holiday Inn City Center, Canopy. That helps. You got a new one. What was the Hilton Garden Inn? Now it's the Catlin. You have the Sheraton right out there next to the arena and Denny Sanford Premier Center. You have the Clubhouse over there just off of I-29 and 26th Street.
Yep.
And then I think there's one over here on the south side. It might be a Hampton. It might be a Holiday Inn. Mm-hmm. But I think that's it. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. So Sioux Falls has half the number of full-service hotels that you would need for 12 teams. And according to Jerry P., they prefer every team gets its own hotel. Mm-hmm. You don't want 2 teams in the same hotel. Plus, the NCAA typically has their people in a different hotel from the teams. Mm-hmm. So, and again, all these cities, bigger cities, I'm guessing they have more full-service hotels. When you talk to Matt Zimmer about this, he thinks it's ridiculous. He thinks it's a stupid factor, but it is real. But again, how much that weighs into the equation, how big of a piece of the pie of the decision that is, I don't know. Remember, these cities are bidding as well. They're putting in financial bids.
Oh, yeah.
If Sioux Falls outbid all these cities, well, that increases their chances, right?
Yeah.
So that's something else I think we should mention.
And you're right. It's a long shot. It certainly is. I mean, Sioux Falls has never hosted an NCAA tournament game at the Division I level. And on top of that, you're going against, Boise, Omaha, Wichita. These are places that are well suited for it. We've seen it work in the past. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I think it's cool that they're in the race.
Yeah.
Like that's the first step here. Just to know that there's a chance that they could be able to pull this off, I think is the most encouraging part. And maybe it is. I think this is still a city that's growing so much, and it could still be just something that's. Just a few years down the road, right? Like it's, and that to me is you got to start somewhere, and that's kind of where I'm at.
You got to keep taking your swings. Zach Borg did a wonderful feature about a month ago, breaking this down over the course of 10 minutes, and he talked to Jerry's boss, the director of the Sioux Falls Sports Authority. I think his name is Tom Lee, and. But he also talked to the guy who runs that kind of show in Des Moines to get events there.
That was the best part of it.
That was
too.
illuminating.
Yeah.
And Des Moines, the guy said, we were told, we tried and we were told no and no and no, and we just kept swinging.
Yeah.
The city got bigger, we got better at this, and finally we got it, and then we bowled them over, and they came back. I think Des Moines hosted it twice.
Yep.
So that's your model for Sioux Falls, and of course Des Moines, like Sioux Falls. We've accentuated the negative here. We all know that Sioux Falls does a brilliant job with the Summit League tournament. First-class facility. The arena looks great on TV. And the Summit League tournament and the men's hockey regionals, the women's NCAA regional, it's been 5 stars every time. The teams love it. NCAA officials tell the Sioux Falls Sports Authority, you're awesome at this.
Yeah.
Like, they know how to host these things. We're not arguing that Sioux Falls would not be an excellent host, and people would show up.
Yeah.
Even if none of these teams are anywhere near. I mean, hopefully you get an Iowa State or an Iowa to come in here one year, or Nebraska, something like that. But
you're going to get a lot of mid-majors.
South Dakota State, maybe.
Yeah, these play-in games, you're going to see some mid-majors for sure. And
we would show up for this.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we show up for, right? I think this city would go crazy. The Sanford International is some of the biggest crowds, if not the biggest, every year out on that championship.
They just announced a Pentagon game just last week, and
so
two Power 4 teams playing.
But the final point I'll make on this is I grew up in Omaha. It's only gotten bigger and better and brought more events to town. Omaha was always immaculate at hosting them well and people showing up to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, these other cities are Boise's. I'm sure people in Boise with no professional sports teams, Boise State football, the biggest thing there, they'd go gaga. They've already done it. So, I mean, but those are strengths that I think eventually will get Sioux Falls in the mix, just maybe not this
I
time.
think it's just going to be a matter of time, and I don't know that it's going to happen this cycle, but here we are, and I think it's cool that they're in the mix here for these playing games.
How deep are we in, Cordell? What are we at? Ooh, 34. Ouch.
34.
Okay. We haven't gotten to Augustana's new softball coach. I mean, we talked Greta for about 3 weeks, with Augustana going from an under 500 squad to Northern Sun champs again.
Yep.
Back to the NCAA tournament. Her just being this amazing coach. She called Augustana her baby. She gets the Minnesota job, which feels like that's the only job she would have left Augie for, because she turned down plenty of Division I, or at least a few Division I and mid-major offers, and she goes straight to the Big Ten in her home state. Well, now who? Now what? And like they did with women's basketball to replace the legend Dave Krauth, they go the Division 3 route. And I know that might have some people, well, at the very least going, who is this? And also, because that was a one-year disaster. I don't think it's quite fair to just say just because that didn't work that a Division III in softball coach couldn't work out.
Yeah, Colleen Powers, St. Catherine's University. She was there for 13 years. She's going to be the one taking over for Greta Melstead. She's a U of M alum, which is really interesting. You know, obviously taking over for a coach who's now going to her alma mater. Pretty cool. But I think the reaction from everything I've heard is players are pretty excited just about this this meeting that Josh had with the players.
13 years there.
13 years there at St.
Got a lot of head coaching experience.
287 wins during that time. I know she took him to a national tournament one of those years. She was 24-18 last year. So, to carry on a tradition, she's stepping into some big shoes in the NSIC, right? Like this is Augie's conference, and they've run it for a while. And so we'll see. We'll see if she can kind of carry the torch.
I really liked Julian Flores-Bennett and her records as a head coach, although she hadn't been there for much. Community college in the
Iowa,
Omaha
right?
area, Council Bluffs, right across the river from Omaha. A year or two at a school in Texas. I mean, she had great records, and she was young, and she was definitely not Dave Krauth, who was older and retired. Mm-hmm. She was a nice person. I spent an afternoon playing in a golf scramble with her, and I just felt horrible about how that all shaped out. Some differences here is a lot more head coaching experience.
Way more.
From Powers. Also, in a place where Augie's going to be recruiting to. I mean, Minnesota is obviously the main recruiting footbed for all these teams in the Northern Sun, and particularly Augustana. And so she has a more familiarity with the region from which you're going to get most of your players than I think Jillian did. So if we want to go back to comparing D3 hires. So on paper it looks good, even though you go kind of D3, well, but, sometimes you hire from the level below you.
Yeah,
that's what happened. And that's what happened here.
Yeah, and we'll see how it works for U of M.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No kidding.
That's the big one. But I think, from everything I've heard, it was received really well from the players. And that, to me, is key. It seemed like Josh Morton kind of went out and tried to find somebody that the players, like he tried to find an ID of a coach that fit that mold, and it seemed like Colleen Powers was the one who fit it the best.
It's riskier to go to the outside these days. USD didn't do it. They felt like they had what they needed right there in Shannon Pivovar. But again, kids can get D2 kids can get in the transfer portal anytime they want. So I guess it's probably not as much of a nervous thing. Like, we don't want anybody to leave. So
I think it depends on the program and the timing, right? I think if you're talking basketball, football, there's certainly going to be some of that. And those are your revenue sports. So, I think it all depends on that. Like there's factors that Division II schools have to weigh. It varies based on program. Softball program's a little different, right? You're not banking on the money that it's producing.
As with a lot of coaching hires, especially when you hire someone you've never heard of before, we'll just wait and see.
Yeah.
Don't drop the gavel.
Excited to meet her and learn about her.
Absolutely. Last thing, I mean, you certainly this is the time of year where all the sanctioned sports around here aren't going on. Doesn't give us a shortage of things to talk about on Happy Hour. Case in point, our show today. But it gives you a chance to write some kind of outside-the-box type of stories. And you had a really outside-the-box one.
Yeah.
SiouxFallsLive.com this week.
Yeah, I got to give a shout-out to David Brown, who gave me the assist on that. He works at Sanford now, and he just kind of put it in my ear a couple weeks ago that there were some show choir kids training down at Roosevelt in the weight room. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting for sure. Let's see if we can set something up. So I went down there to talk with them. And Kurt Selberg, he's the strength and conditioning coach through Sanford that works with Roosevelt. And you can tell he's excited about just getting the chance to work with maybe some students that aren't necessarily wouldn't be considered student athletes,
non-traditional
right?
athletes.
Yeah, and they have to put in work too, man. And it was just kind of a cool insight into a lot of work that is done behind the scenes in those summer months that we don't really even think of. We're always thinking, of the sports, football, basketball, and those guys work year round and they work their tails off. But so do some of these other kids. And Roosevelt's got a hell of a show choir, it sounds like, and it's cool to see some kids kind of working behind the scenes to work on their craft. Solberg's been there for, I believe, 2 years at Roosevelt. He's a Roosevelt grad, but he's been working as a strength and conditioning coach there at Roosevelt. They don't do a ton of heavy lifting or anything outside the box, but there's a lot of cardio and it's a circuit workout, and it's all about just staying in shape and being ready for when that season starts so that they can be there's a lot. Think about show choir, right? Like you're dancing and you're singing and you're having to memorize. There's a lot going into that. And I think having that physical acumen is really important. So to me, it kind of appealed on a whole nother level. And then they talked about kind of how it's a community builder for kids who maybe are just learning show choir and how they can kind of ingratiate themselves early on. Yeah. So it's kind of cool. It's cool to learn about something different.
I love it. And you're right. There's more durability for all their performances there. They don't get as tired. You should perform better, just like is the case in athletics.
They're going to have their first all-boys show choir this year, which is kind of interesting, too.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, check that out at SiouxFallsLive.com. Nobody covers more sports more thoroughly around here in this region than SiouxFallsLive.com.
Yes, we do.
So, thank you, Trent.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it. 41, I'm guessing 41. We do those 41? 41, okay.
Nail that?
Could do better. We could do better, but I thought we, once he told us 34, we hustled pretty well there.
Yeah, we did good.
Hey, Eric Peterson coming up. A lot of USD hoops now. Very good interview. He's always a good guy. And Jackson Rensselaer later on to talk about the World Cup and the watch parties here at Craven. So for Trent and Cordell, cheers.
Cheers.
It's still Happy Hour with John Gaskins, so go ahead, have another.
Let's get a glimpse inside the life of a mid-major head basketball coach. He is Eric Peterson, 5th year at the University of South Dakota. He is heading into his 5th year, and of course, year 3, 19 wins. Year 4, 16-16 overall, 8-8 in the league, but that was some men's work to get to those marks. He was high up there on the Coach of the Year voting for all the injuries that the Coyotes had to sustain. And since their last game in the Summit League tournament on that Friday night, almost an entirely new roster. 4 players do return. There's 12 new players. He's here to tell us all about that and more here on June 25th. So it's been about 3 months, over 3 months. It's been a while. So it's great to see you. Have you had a chance at all to take a vacation or kick back and relax? Or has it just been pedal to the metal?
Not yet, but over the 4th of July, I do plan to get away for a couple of days. We're going to give our guys a small break. And then we try to take one family vacation a year, and we're taking one this year to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. My wife went to school in South Carolina. She played at USC Upstate for volleyball. So we do plan to get away a little bit, but it's been a busy spring. You're trying to replace guys on your roster. The portal's been a little bit crazy. And then, every spring you have some turnover with staff as well. So, try to find 2 assistants. And so it's been busy. Like I said, we signed our last kid on a Saturday and we started practice on Monday. So it's just kind of one week ran into the next. And sometimes it's like, hey, what day is it right now? Where are we at? Yeah. It's been really, really busy.
Yeah. Well, besides busy, how would you explain what it's like to go through the emotions and just the whirlwind? You're not alone. I mean, North Dakota State wins the league tournament, loses most of its roster. So it's the life of a mid-major coach. Beyond busy, what's it like to go through?
Yeah, I think it's becoming the norm, and I think each year you lose more and more. The first 3 years I was here, we lost an average of 3.6 transfers per year that, left. And now, we lose 8 this year that went somewhere and played. And I think it's going to become more common. I think a lot of people were hoping that there'd be a one-time transfer deal with the 5-for-5 that just happened. And obviously that didn't happen. But it's becoming the norm. And I coached JUCO for 7 years, and I'm not saying this is a JUCO or we're JUCO. But it's helped prepare me a little bit where, every spring you're working on your roster. And when I was a junior college coach, we'd sign players in August, right before school started. So that's helped me a little bit with this. Haven't had a whole lot of time to reflect. Honestly, we were practicing a couple of days ago, and I told Matt Merkin, our assistant here, that, man, it's kind of nice just to be able to practice, because when we went through it, we were playing with 7 or 8 players, and we had coaches out there in scout team jerseys, and we were trying to do some breakdown drills, but we really never got to play 5-on-5. And that's the first time I really had time to step back and be like, man, like what we just went through was pretty wild, a huge anomaly. But now it's full steam ahead. We got 16 guys. A couple are coming back from injury, but it's great to get back on the floor, coach our guys, play a little 5-on-5. And it's just been too long since we've done that. But it's part of college basketball now. There's some coaches that, love it. Some coaches are saying, hey, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just going to go be an assistant at a high major level. I'm going to go Dusty May. I'm going to go to the NBA because I just want to coach. I don't want to deal with some of the stuff that's going on at our level. But, hopefully with some of these new rules, it settles down a little bit and there's a little bit more structure to what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, for you, how close to you are you? I know this is a long game type of question. You're very focused on the now. You got your tunnel vision, and I'm ready to hear about all your new players. But has there been part of you that has thought, oh wow, I mean, how about another profession or again, other options besides the life of a mid-major head coach, which, as you've said, is like being a junior college coach. You're just constantly turning over the roster. It's a harder, busier, more days out of the year job than it probably ever has been. Has it taken a toll?
I haven't really thought about it. There's opportunities every year. Like people call me, do you want to be an assistant again? And I'm here. I love this place. This is where I want to be. I left a high major assistant job with one of my best friends at, I think a top 25 job in the country to come here because we've never done it here. We've never made the NCAA tournament. And I was here for 4 years as an assistant, and we were close. We just didn't do it. So, my boss used to always say, be where your feet are at. Like my feet are here. And that's what I'm 100% focused on. And, my family loves Vermilion. We love raising our kids here. We love the community. It's a really special place. And I think a lot of people that don't live here or have never lived here or gone to school here don't quite see that. But then when they come and we have assistants leave and go to other spots, or kids come here and they transfer, they're all wanting to come back. They're all, I really miss Vermilion. So I think we're in a great spot. I really like our team. So that thought has never crossed my mind.
Well, one of my favorite day trips to take around here is to Vermilion, play the bluffs, love the course. And then there's some good food and establishments downtown that always are great after the round. I'm with you, and I love the athletic facilities there. And, you're saying the same things that Carrie Amy says. And of course, your boss, John Schemmel, says, and even Robert Wagner before he was no longer the softball coach, and Shannon Pivovar, who replaced him, that they all say that about Vermillion. You're entering the final year of your contract. And what was your reaction when you found out it was not being extended beyond this season?
Well, I think that's partially true. I mean, there obviously is a chance next year that we meet again and things go as planned, as I plan. So I think, a lot of people just took it as, hey, I'm not coming back. And that's not true. Our AD and I have a great relationship. Our kids play baseball together. I've taken his son fishing with me. I think that's the missing piece. Like, we talk weekly. And I would say we both want the same thing. There's not a different mindset of what we want. We both want to win, and we both want to cut the nets down in Sioux Falls. And then, other than a hiccup last year with the injury piece, I think we've seen growth in our program every single year. We finished fourth with 7 to 8 players this season. 2 guys we picked up at semester that hadn't played in like 9 months. We were down 8 guys that were done for the season, and we finished fourth. Like, I'm proud of our staff. I'm proud of our team for doing that. We had a great team built, team that I thought could win 20 plus games. We won 16 with 8 players, with some key pieces that were missing. People that truly understand and know basketball know how crazy the injury piece actually was. But I mean, our guys were so disciplined, and I thought we had such a great culture. We didn't bend or break with it. There's so many people that thought we were not going to win another game. And that was, NDSU, St. Thomas, when we had 7 players and added those 2 guys. And then when we lost Isaac Bruns, top 10 scorer in the country, everyone's like, they're really not going to win another game. And we went down to Omaha and beat them on the road. So really proud of our team. But when you look at it, over the last 4 years since I've been here, John, we have the 4th most regular season wins in the league. So we're 4th, right? Since I've been here. This year with those players, we lost to NDSU in overtime, team that won the league. UND took second. We had 3 shots to win it at the buzzer and just missed. We were up at versus St. Thomas at halftime. We swept South Dakota State for the first time in 30 years and won at their place since first time since 2001. We broke GPA records every single year I've been here. We finished with a 3.3 GPA. Our team puts in more community service work than we've ever put in here. We've signed the highest ranked player ever in South Dakota history this past year, a top 120 kid in the country. So I'm confident what we're doing here. There was a small hiccup last year, but it's full steam ahead this year. And we got a lot to prove. And that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, everything you rattled off again put you high up on the list toward the top of Coach of the Year honors. And certainly if your contract, if we learned it had been extended, all of us would go, job well done, Eric, you earned it. So, what were you told was holding you back from that happening?
Yeah, I'm not going to go into details about that. I don't think that's appropriate out of respect to our athletic director in our program. The people that I will talk to that about are our AD and my agent. I think that's the appropriate thing to say. But yeah, we need to win. Did we do it at the level I thought we could have this year? No. Were there some crazy factors that played into that? Absolutely. But like I said, I thought we had a really, really good team built, and we still probably overachieved based on what our roster looked like. So I know the expectations here. You take a Division I college basketball job, you're expected to win. And that is our goal 100%. And it's never changed since I've been here. So, you always get into it knowing that there's a risk that, it could not work out. And, I was willing to take that risk because I love this place and I truly believe that we can do it here.
Last one along these lines then would just be, of course, the goal is to cut down the nets, be the first team that does that in Sioux Falls at USD, reach the big dance. But have you been told what it would take to keep you going at USD after this season?
No, we haven't talked specifics about that. I just know we have to win more and we have to, keep putting a really good product on the court. That's number one. And on top of that, we have great kids. Like I said, they go to class. We broke GPA records. We serve the community. On top of that, that's all great, but we have to continue to win.
Yeah. I want to talk about putting together this team that you think can do that. But we'll retrace our steps. I mean, most Coyote fans who are keeping track step for step were aware of, again, something that's pretty common. Your best player, the league's leading scorer, Isaac Bruns, he goes to USC. That's the headliner of the departing portal class. Jordan Crawford to Missouri. That's a good land for him. And then it goes, on down the line with guys like Bunton and McIntosh. But when a player's telling you they're jumping in the portal or considering it, what kinds of things do you tell him? Does it differ from player to player? Do you try to discourage? Do you try to help them land in the best possible spot? How does that work?
Yeah, I think every coach does it differently. With me, I always think there's a chance that they do come back. Now, it might be where, player gets in there and thinks they do have a chance to come back, and we take two kids at his position, and then there's no chance. So, when they tell me that, my biggest thing is find the right fit. If they're successful here, that means they did find the right fit and they did pick the right style of play. And some of these kids too, they transfer down as well. And I think what you've seen, John, is, the very good ones that score a lot of points, that produce, they go up. The kids that don't play a whole lot go down. And then you kind of keep that middle ground. And if you can keep that middle ground every year, I think you're in good shape. And we sort of kept the middle ground with our team. But, find the right fit. This is a small coaching world. I mean, you typically know every coach around the country. You know their style of play. Are they allowed to ask me questions? Absolutely. But, once they go in the portal, it's like, we appreciate what you did at USD, but now we have to focus on our team. We have to build our team. You can't be taking a ton of time to help somebody that doesn't want to be there anymore. So we're always supportive. We always listen. We always meet. And at the end of the day, yeah, we appreciate what you did, but you're moving on. We have to move on as well. And
right.
We have a great product here.
Yeah. And, you had this happen, of course, the year before. The two leading scorers you had, Chase Forte, Dre Bullock, big part of that 19-win team. And Chase went to Boston College. They went 11-20. And Dre goes to Hawaii. They both got paid, obviously, very, very, very well. These were two guys you really liked. We kind of talked about this last year after they had left. What can you tell us? I mean, those are two examples. What can you tell us about the experiences they had at their new level, and how often do you keep in touch with them? And then how do you use that information when you're talking to or trying to help players like Isaac and Jordan move on? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I stay in touch with all of our players. Most of them, I try to reach out on their birthday. Throughout the season, you can send a text like, you watch them play on TV, great job, whatever. So we do stay in touch. Both those guys have been in touch with me after their seasons because they want to be pros and do have some connections to help guys, find the right agent and find the right level to play professionally. So they have been in touch. I do not, sit in here and sell it to recruits. That's not what I'm about. I'm about our current players and what our program can help them do 10 years from now, not just 1 year from now. So I know some coaches do that. I don't do that. But, the best part for some of these guys is like they played with each other. So they can call them directly and say, tell me about your experience. I don't relay information back and forth. Once guys leave, I'm super focused on the current guys. And if they want to reach out to those former players, absolutely. But again, it just comes down to finding the right fit and what they want. And, if they say, I want this and I'm okay, coming off the bench and playing 10 minutes a game, then go for it. Dre went to a spot that he thought he could play a lot and they played in the NCAA tournament. So everybody's a little bit different, but, there's too much going on right now, John, where you're trying to, we brought in 12 players. Like, I'm entirely focused on our team. And that's where my attention needs to be to give our program the best chance to win.
So it would be safe to say, though, that some of the guys have great experiences. I assume being a part of an NCAA tournament team is an awesome experience. And being on an 11-20 team, like Boston College. Both of these guys, have 10 or 12 points. They did play. They did get to contribute, but you have more personal experience than most of us who can say sometimes it's going to work for you. Sometimes the grass is greener and sometimes it's not, I would guess.
Yeah. And it's what you want. Do you want more money to maybe have a different role, or the team is maybe not very good? Or do you want to take less to, play for a team that you think could be the best team in the league? And it's always about what's important to you. And that's the question I always ask in the recruiting process as well. What are the 3 things that are most important to you in this process? And then I know from a student athlete that's considering the University of South Dakota, if we're a good fit or not. And I'm sure it's the same way at other levels. And I'm sure the kids are going through that in their mind too. What's important to me? And then, you can't have everything unless you're a 5-star, unless you're the top transfer you can't have everything. There's no way you're going to get that. But, if 3 things are important to you and you can get 2 of those, then maybe that's the right fit. So there's kids that make mistakes all the time. There's kids that have been in the portal that have asked to come back, John, and we've already filled their spot. And coach, I made a mistake. There's kids that have left and gone to other schools and said, man, I wish I would have stayed. Like, I made a huge mistake, coach. Is there any chance I can come back? You hear that all the time. That's happened to us. But they're grown men and they need to make decisions for themselves. And most of them do. So, I can't be mad at them for making that decision. Coaches can move all the time. You see coaches moving every single day. Coaches are leaving in June. So to be mad at somebody for that would be silly. You try to support them the best way you can, but going back, you try to just, put as much time into your team as possible, because that's what's really important as a college basketball coach.
Yeah, it sounds like a gamble. Some players try to come crawling back. That's interesting. But you basically started, you have 4 players returning, and these are some contributors. I mean, Doetzler and Bucelis and Kaiser. So that's I want to emphasize that. But yeah, otherwise you hit the ground running and you have to, replace, I guess, 3/4 of your team, basically 12 new players. So just kind of start from square one. What was your strategy? What was most, and who was most important to you first? How do you put together this new roster from square one?
Yeah, it started last summer when you're recruiting high school kids. I think it's really important. We've always filled whatever scholarship amount we've had open. We've always tried to fill that with high school kids. I think that's really important. We're trying to recruit good players from the Midwest if possible. We got a top 120 kid out of Chicago and Michael Nee, who we were on early and he kind of blew up late. And then, Marvin Richard III from Pine Ridge, who's looked really good in practice so far, really targeted, those 2 kids. And then, once you look at the Midwest, you got to start branching out a little bit more, because we do want the best players that we can get from the Midwest. But every once in a while, there's an outlier. We've had kids from Texas on our roster. We've had international kids on our rosters. So the high school thing, I think, is really, really important. You don't want to go get, if we didn't get those high school kids, you don't want to go get 12 kids out of the portal. I think the chemistry is really important, John. So like, you're trying to get 12 kids and it's hard to play 12 guys, right? So the more you can kind of separate your classes and balance your classes a little bit more, I think that really helps. Now, are you going to keep kids for 2 or 3 years? I hope so, but is that realistic now? Probably not. So once we got those freshmen, I think the most important thing you can do, or the hardest positions to get, I should say, but are still important, are point guards and big kids. It's just, they're really hard to find. Big kids that can walk, chew gum, dribble the ball, put it in the hole are really, really hard to find. So, we brought in 3 6'10" or bigger kids, a junior college kid in Tyler Nedelecki, who actually signed or committed during the year and signed in the spring. We brought in JTT, we call him, from Creighton, 6'10" kid that we actually played against their first game, our second game of the year. And I got to watch him play in 2 exhibition games because we agreed to exchange the exhibition film. So not everybody got to see that around the country, but he played in our game, and that was the only game he played in. He broke his foot. But he played Cam fans very, very well. Cam could not score against him. And so when he came on the market, I was like, absolutely, we need to go after that dude. He moves well. He's an unbelievable defender. He scored a little bit around the rim, just saw tremendous upside in him. And then the other big we brought in was Steph Van Bussel, who I watched overseas when I first got the job here, didn't get him, went to St. Louis, ended up at Duquesne. And some of these guys just are not okay being backups. They want to play more. And our level provides that. And then finding some point guards, Cade Kelderman from Iowa State was their backup point guard last year. This year was probably expected to be their backup point guard, but they had a really good freshman that kind of took off. And same thing, Cade just wanted to go somewhere that he could consistently get on the floor. Cade is tough. He's physical. He can really share the ball. He's been one of our best defenders in the first 2 weeks. So those two spots were really important. And then about a week ago, we picked up Caius from Pacific, who is from Lithuania. Obviously, we have Vince Buzelis on our roster from Lithuania, huge family name in Lithuania with his brother Matas playing in the NBA. So there's a natural connection there. He had 100 assists last year as a backup at Pacific. That's a crazy number. And we knew we needed a guy like that on our roster. And he's been really sharing the ball and running our team the first couple of weeks. So those two spots really, really important. And then on top of that, we're just trying to find the best players that you can get with the resources you have. Everybody talks about resource. My thing is be resourceful with the resources that you have. Just be resourceful. So how can you piece your roster together based on the amount that you have and how to put a team together? And I was big this year, John, and I know there's a lot going on in the portal. The process is sped up a lot with recruiting. In the past, and my former boss as well, we've been big time relationship people where it takes us a while to get to know somebody and offer them, where now you have the portal and you might have to decide within 2 days if you're taking that player. So my thing was, let's do more research from the jump. Let's surround the people that know him and let's get information about them so we can make a decision quicker. But going back to what I was saying is I didn't want to recruit anybody that wasn't just an elite human being. And I think top to bottom on our roster, we have elite people and they work their tails off. I grew up on a farm in Wisconsin, and that's all I know is hard work. You got to show up and work every single day to get what you want. So those are 100% the type of people I wanted to surround myself with this year, because I think it's a really important year for our program. And, I'm really happy with our roster. So I don't know if there's an exact science or an exact recipe to do it. I wanted elite people, guys that care about school, guys that are going to play really hard. Certain guys on our team, you could go through the list, and I tell people, you talk to Cade Kelderman, you are, no matter if you're happy, you're sad, whatever, you could be ecstatic. You could have just won the lottery. You're happier and more excited about life after you talk to Cade Kelderman. You can go right to Elijah. Same thing with him, just down the line, Josiah Dotzler. I mean, I love being around our guys, and they just bring energy with whatever they do. You're just more excited about yourself and life after you're done talking to them.
You make a point. Some of us, especially for mid-major coaches like you, but Division II coaches go through a lot of roster turnover as well. And we sometimes think, well, it must be very time-consuming and difficult, challenging, the recruiting aspect of it. But to your point, when you're recruiting guys that you're excited to be around, it could be fun. It sounds like it's fun if you're finding the right people, the recruiting aspect.
I love coaching. I love basketball. I'm a basketball junkie. And when you recruit like-minded players that are like you typically have more fun with it. So every year, I think our roster is trending more that way. Practices, maybe I'm more excited about practice because we really haven't had a true practice since November with the full team.
Yes.
But they're guys that I love being around that, it's probably the closest team so far that I've been around in my career, just with them doing stuff together and just the energy that they give each other and the connection they have. They've made that pretty quick. So just a great group of guys, but now we need to get better on the floor. The interesting part is you bring in 9 transfers and 3 freshmen. There's 12 guys right there that have all done things differently wherever they've been. They've guarded ball screens differently. They've doubled the post differently. So, the first week you're kind of pulling your hair out. I love these dudes, but we don't know anything yet. And now this week, it's obviously looked much better. And hopefully, every week gets a little bit better, heading into our summer break.
Yeah, it's a lot. And from reading Zim's article, which I recommend people to do if you really want to get down into some specific strengths, qualities, stats, performances, information about every player you've picked up, that's there at SiouxFallsLive.com from just 6 days ago. And you gave us a great rundown just here. But I gathered, for one, you're talking about grade A human beings. Also, a lot of these guys have won a lot of games, whether it be in high school or other places they've been. The other component, of course, it appears, is you're still trying to fit this into the very clear identity of USD basketball until everybody got injured last year.
Yeah.
Incredibly up tempo, tons of pace, 94 feet of hell type of thing. Is that what you plan on still doing?
Yeah.
And is that how you recruit?
I think every year as a coach, you have to keep tweaking things and get it right. And there was, part of what we did this past year that I really liked. We took a huge jump defensively. And you can look at the roster makeup. 2 years ago, our press was really good. And then we lost Cam Fens, who was the anchor and the rim protector at the back of the press. And, the last 2 weeks of the season didn't work great. Right. And I didn't think that we could change it within 2 weeks. Well, last year, we're playing K-State and we're shorthanded. And I thought about doing it 2 days before the game. And I'm just like, man, this is the last game before Christmas break. Can we really do it? And going into Christmas break, it's like, we have to. We have no choice. We have to change how we're playing based on who we have on our roster. So I do think we're deep. I do think we're going to play very, very fast. Actually, I know we're going to play very fast. We were number 2 in pace 2 years ago behind Alabama. So that's the pace that we want to play at.
Okay.
With the pressing piece, I think there'll be times where we won't press. There'll be times where we do press. But I do think that needs to be somewhat of an identity for us because if we truly want to be the toughest team, we have to, when we get between those lines, we have to show like we're gonna guard you guys. We're gonna apply some pressure the length of the floor and force you guys to really take care of the ball. So it'll be different. I'm not gonna just tell you the formula right now. So every team that plays us early knows what's going on. But as a coach, in order to be a good coach, you got to keep tweaking things every single year.
Okay. But were you recruiting to that, or were you just trying to get the best possible players through the best possible connections?
Well, if I didn't think they could play fast or couldn't play fast, I wouldn't have recruited them here. I think that's important. But does every kid fit, hey, we're going to get up and guard the ball the length of the floor? No. But we have some elite guys that can do that. And those should be the guys that are guarding those ball handlers the length of the floor. So I think you have to look at your roster and you have to put guys in position to be successful. And we're week 2 right now. And I'm not exactly sure what that looks like, but I'll know by the time November hits and we play our first game, I'll know.
Well, you may have just answered the question. I mean, when you're putting together this new team, do you have in mind who your starting 5 is going to be, or is it going to be a while before that sorts itself out? Because the layman like us, you're laughing, so you can tell me why you're laughing, can go, well, this guy, and this guy came from the bigger schools and they got 1 year of eligibility. I don't think they'd come to Vermilion not to play. But how does it play out in your mind as of now?
Yeah, I've never guaranteed anybody in my career that they're going to come in and start. I think that's the wrong way to start a relationship. Like I said, I'm all about hard work, and the guys that earn it, everybody on the team knows that they've earned it, and there's no questions asked about it. We've never had somebody come in like, well, I should be starting. No, they know. We do different charting at practice. We have a gate of standings, which means get after their butt. And there's certain things that we value, and I picked this up. I was in a gym in San Francisco my first year here, and Todd Golden is a very analytical person. Florida does a lot with analytics. Like they've fouled kids, under a minute left when they're up because they know they're going to miss the free throw because they're really into analytics. But a high school coach was on the staff with Kyle Smith, who's now the head coach at Stanford. Todd Golden took over for him when he left San Francisco. Wow. So, I'm a basketball junkie. I immediately start asking him like, hey, tell me how you charted stuff. Tell me how you did your analytics there. Because I want to know. The best teams in the country, in the world, are heavy in analytics. Every team in the NBA has one guy that does their analytics, that they pay a lot of money to figure that stuff out. So he's just like, I can't tell you what we did. And I was just like, well, why not? You don't coach there anymore. Why can't you tell me?
Yeah.
He wasn't saying he couldn't tell me. He's like, I can't tell you the formula. You have to decide what is important to you. And there's, certain things offensively that could be +4. There are certain things that could be +1. There's certain things like a turnover for us is -5. And so we have an offensive standings and a defensive standings. And essentially what you do is count the amount of live possessions that they're in. And then you take their score, you divide it out, and you get a number. And hopefully you're above 0, right? Hopefully you're closer to 1 if possible, or higher than that. But that's not always the case. But if you say you value these things, John, and like this is what's important to you, and consistently they're last in the standings, they're probably not guys that you should play. And we do that defensively too. If you're constantly gambling, if you're constantly missing box outs or different, you're going to get points taken off. Or, hey, you take a charge, you have a great jump wall, you're going to get rewarded for that stuff. So what we do, we don't guarantee anything. Hey, this is who we think you are. This is who we think you could be, but you got to come in and earn it. And I would never want to take a player that thinks they're just going to come in and start because I said that. And I just think it creates bad chemistry. So we chart everything. I think that's really important. And then it's constant communication. Like if they're not playing as much as they should, this is why you're not. This is what the Gata standings say weekly about you. And this is where you need to get better. So no, I mean, like we have 12 new players. Did I think a freshman would start last year? No, but one came in and started the first, 3 or 4 games of the year. And did he keep starting? No, somebody else earned it over top of him. So I think it's pretty fluid. And, I think if I look at our deal, there's 12 guys that could potentially start for us. And I don't even know who would be our leading scorer, to be honest with you right now.
Just a couple more on the way out. You mentioned the 5 for 5 early on. And I appreciate you telling me yesterday what you thought of it in text. Guys can play 5 years now if they want, but it has to be bang, 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 bang. No more red shirts, no more medical hardships. And you alluded to the no limitations of transferring. So, what do you make of all that?
Yeah,
in your situation?
I think they will play 5 years now. There's very rare occasions. Maybe they get some bad advice. Like there was a guy in the draft last night that probably could have got $5+ million if he would have stayed in college, but he decided to go, and he's not going to make that in the NBA. So I think more people are going to see that. The one thing I wish with that, John, is I wish if you declared for the draft and you didn't get drafted, I wish you could come back to college.
Yeah,
I really do. And I know there's some cases this year where, hey, this guy played in the NBA or played in the G League and he came back and played. But I wish they would allow student athletes to do that, because I do think some people get bad advice, or something happens where they have some bad workouts with NBA teams and they don't get drafted and now they're stuck. So that's one thing I wish they could change. But going back to the 5 for 5, I really like it. I think it provides more structure. I think it's more black and white. There's no waivers, like period. They're doing this. There were exceptions being allowed. There were special cases, but it was a very impartial process. And obviously they're doing it to try to get rid of the lawsuits with it. I feel like right now it's like COVID 2.0, where all of a sudden there's another class that they get an extra year. And it's the fall of 2023 guys that will get that extra year. So it's going to feel a little bit like that with the portal. But it fits academics more. It makes a master's degree or even graduating more attainable. The negative piece is the medical side. And I sent you the thing about, potentially if you get hurt 2 years in a row, you're out 2 years. There's no medical hardship that allows a kid to get another year back. So that would be the disappointing part in it. But I get it. How do you decide one, kid gets a medical red shirt versus the next? There's always different circumstances, which leads to more lawsuits. But I still love that kids can do a post-grad year. Some student athletes are not ready to go to college, where they might need that extra year. There's going to be more movement for sure, more portal madness. But right now it's going to be a lot of madness. But in a couple of years, I think everybody will look back and say this was the right thing and it was the best thing. And I did talk a little bit with you about I think we're going to get better high school kids at our level. I think the top high major schools are all just going to trade players or go internationally for their high school kids that maybe have played in pro programs, where every year I've felt like we can get better high school guys because it just trickles down. So it's a great thing with us, or for us in our level. But overall, I like it. I just think it provides much more structure.
Cool. And a guy like Dolzler, who had 2 years of what would be considered medical hardship. So is he protected, like grandfathered in, or does he lose those 2 years because of 5 for 5?
Yeah. And honestly, that's a good question. I just hit up our compliance guy yesterday about that and told Josiah, hey, let's sit down and meet so we fully understand what's going on. I think you can opt into an old model or take the new model, whatever
That's it. That's
fits
right.
the student athlete the best. And we have to go through some of the things that happened to him at St. Louis where he was at in a situation here. So I don't have an answer to that right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're going to find out because obviously he's going to want to play as much college basketball as he can.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I recall you can work it to your advantage. It sounds like for now, for these guys that are in limbo and just kind of there while this whole thing gets passed. And by speaking of compliance, your boss, John Schemmel, I think is pretty thrilled about less compliance work and paperwork for the athletics staff to do, and that probably would include you as well. You have less paperwork to worry about, I'm guessing, or at least dealing with kids about that.
There's paperwork for us, but honestly, you always question like how can the NCAA keep up with all these waivers, and then they're going to court with stuff. So I just think, like I said, it's black and white. There's no more waivers, period. It's done. Like you cannot apply for a waiver. I don't even know if there'll be a form or anything to submit or a website that you can submit something to. So, it's going to obviously help the NCAA, their employees, their staff members, and ours too.
Yeah. All right. The last one is, does it, we talked last year throughout this kind of spirited, impressive run you guys went on with that MASH unit last year, the big wins and the almost wins, and how, it's like a movie that you're in right now. And the happy ending was hopefully cutting down the nets in Sioux Falls. That didn't happen, but it was still very inspiring. Do you feel like the situations we've talked about that you personally, plus this team, a new team is walking into this year, clearly at this moment, you're very excited about it? Does this feel like another movie coming on?
Yeah. I hope it is. I hope it's, that you always have that hope. It's really early right now, but the expectation is to win the league and make the NCAA tournament. And I'm fired up every year I get to coach. I'm 43 years old and I show up every day to work. Like, I love coaching college basketball. I love coaching basketball. I love being around people. Like, my thing is, I knew I had to do something around people. And everybody says like, oh, the transfer portal stinks. You're losing guys every year. And my spin on it, John, is if I coach 10 new guys every single year, that's 10 more people that I get in my circle, I get to have in my life that I get to impact or influence in some way, shape, or form. And that's a positive to me. Like, that is awesome that I get to be around those people on a daily basis. I get to see young men get married, have kids, go through life, mature, get great jobs, get promotions. All that stuff's really important to me. So I'm fired up every single day that I show up to work. I love this place. This is my dream job. I wouldn't want it any other way. And so when I get to put the whistle on and walk in between the lines at practice, it's fun, it's exciting, but the expectation is let's cut down the nets. There's a reason why we're all here, and we're all here for the same reason.
It's going to be fun to watch. And those in my profession are supposed to not root for guys in your profession, nor against you. At least publicly, but it's going to be awfully hard to not be happy for you if this all goes well. So good luck and congratulations on all that's happened in the last few months. And by the way, for those non-Coyote fans listening in, we're hoping for the same for the other PD up north here. So it's good for us to see good basketball around here. So we all hope it happens. So appreciate you telling us all about it today.
Thanks for having me on. As always, go Yotes.
All right. Stay right there. He's Eric Peterson, USD basketball coach, for video producer Cordell Wright. I'm John Gaskins. Happy hour and cheers.
It's still happy hour with John Gaskins. This round's on me.
Well, America is what? Fourth of the way home to a World Cup title, first ever. Cheers. Cheers. And we're going to watch it all happen at Craven, 69th and Louise, the official watch party place of the American Outlaws. And Jackson Rensselaer from Craven is here, and he's ready. He's got his... Yeah, we are recording this tonight. A lot of people are going to be listening to this after tonight, which is okay, because tonight's basically practice.
Yeah, preseason. A little preseason game, yeah.
It's a little awkward here. Trent is here. We've got 2 microphones, 3 guys, and so we're here to just talk about what the Americans have pulled off, outscoring their first 2 opponents 6-1, vaulting into the top 10 of the Vegas odds to win the Cup. How good really are they? They're doing this all without their best player. And oh, by the way, Jackson got to see a World Cup soccer game at Arrowhead Stadium. And for those of you who don't know, he, like Trent and I, huge Kansas City Chiefs fans. So, right. I mean, I kind of want to carve into that. Take us there. Take us to Arrowhead. Algeria versus Argentina.
It was. I got a phone call on Sunday night and said, "Hey, I have a few tickets if you want to go." And I said, "How much?" And she's like, "I got them for free through Mick Ultra." And I said, "Absolutely." So I called my son and I said, "Hey, Jack, do you want to go?" And he's like, "Yeah, right, Dad. There's no way. You know, it's messy." I'm like, "I know." And he's like, "Absolutely." He's like, "Can I tell my friends?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I, myself, Clint, and Siebes piled in a car, and we drove down Tuesday morning. We got to Power and Light about noon. The game wasn't until 8 o'clock that night. The place is packed. I mean, there's probably, at Power and Light at that time, 2,000 to 3,000 Argentinians. I think that I'm saying that right. And they are already partying, singing, drinking. They kept getting these giant pizzas, and everyone would go nuts when they'd walk out with the giant pizza. And then the whole way up to the game, they sang, I was almost people watching more than I was watching the game, and then Messi scoring the hat trick. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible.
I mean, I gotta ask too, just because I saw somebody kind of throwing some shade on Twitter, which you see a lot these days, but they were throwing shade at Arrowhead and saying, like, you know, why is there a World Cup game being played at Arrowhead? This is one of the worst NFL stadiums, like, as far as like the backdrop and everything. And I'm like people don't quite literally understand like what the tailgating experience is like at Arrowhead, and really the soccer community in Kansas City too is incredible. Yeah. Can you just speak to like what it was like to see that stadium transformed into, you know, a World Cup atmosphere? We have just like two you know, rabid fan bases from these two countries kind of colliding in one place, and seeing Arrowhead kind of taking over.
Andrew was able to speak because he speaks Spanish and very well, so that was actually a nice part of it. I can tell you right now, their fans did not think that. They thought it was incredible. As a Chiefs fan, it was weird because they had stripped almost
red.
Yeah, there's no red. The only thing that was left up there was the giant banner with the Super Bowl champions at the top. Other than that, you would not know you were at Arrowhead. You would have no idea. But 70,000 people going nuts the entire game, and I've been to a lot of games at Arrowhead. It probably was the best experience I've had there.
Wow.
I mean, it was that neat of an atmosphere. And, you know, Arrowhead's already loud. I think they had the decibel, and it hit like 112, which isn't, you know, close to what a Chiefs game was. But that was a duration of 90 minutes. They didn't stop. They don't stop the entire game. Like, you know, there's no TV timeouts. They are singing, dancing, ripping their shirts off for 90 minutes, and I had never seen anything like that.
And the P&L too. I mean, like,
Power and Light was crazy.
What was that like?
You couldn't walk, but it was also like I said, it was just people watching was extraordinary. Anywhere you look, and everyone was so happy and so like. It was just a good vibe.
Yeah,
the vibes were awesome. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So what you're telling me is it didn't seem like, even though the Americans weren't playing, like what we hear about Super Bowls, where a lot of the crowd isn't fans of either of the teams, and it's sort of an antiseptic, neutral atmosphere. Not at all, huh? I mean, because there were plenty of Americans there.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But everybody's just reveling in the World Cup, and I'm going to guess it was mostly felt like an Argentinian home game.
90%.
Yeah.
And then, most of the Americans that were there, you could tell that they got their jerseys from Shields or Amazon the day before. But, I mean, it would probably...
Hey, Costco right here, man.
Right, yeah. I mean, whatever it takes. I mean, I went to Shields here before trying to get one, and the guy was like, no, we're sold out.
Wow.
I mean, it was not even happening in Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
Well, how has it been here? Last time we were here at Craven, this is the brand new American Outlaws official watch party place, the place to go in Sioux Falls to really watch the biggest soccer games in the world with the biggest soccer fans in town. And you were a little worried because it had been at the other place for so many years that people might not swing on over here. I saw the pictures, man. The first night was incredible. That was a Friday night, right? Which certainly helped. But the second game was a Friday late afternoon. So, I mean, I'd love to hear it in your own words, but I'm sure we're showing some pictures right now. Congratulations, Pete. The word got around, and this place is a banger to be at, and might even be tonight for a kind of a practice game.
Yeah, it was the first Friday game was incredible. Being at night, we had the big screen outside. So, and then this fast forward to the next Friday, you kind of had the little weather, it was raining right up until kickoff, and I was nervous. I always am. Like, hey, how's this going to turn out? It was bigger. I know the neighbors around here were like, where are all these cars? And I said, I assured them, I was like, hey, after the game, it'll kind of clear out. But you had Jesse and Mark on the grill outside to help alleviate some of the kitchen, give them a break. We had beer tents. The staff was incredible. They were rock stars. And then the atmosphere, keep winning. They keep scoring, and it's just going to – I think Wednesday – next week will be get here early.
Do you think it's a little bit of just the fever? Like, people are realizing that this team is, the expectations are different this year. And I mean, I've spoken about it too. And, winning back-to-back games at the World Cup, they haven't done it since, the 30s, right? The first World Cup?
Yeah.
And just to see the way this team is playing right now, I think people are kind of catching on. How much does that play into it? And how does it really compare to kind of previous watch parties that you've seen with the Outlaws?
Yeah, there's hope now. We kind of briefly touched on it with Clint, saying we didn't know what to expect. I said they got to score a lot of goals. They're scoring a lot of goals. Yeah. And then that's alleviating their defensive woes because we're up. And they've kept the pressure on, and it's just and now you got the casual fans. We shared a deal on our Facebook today. It was like, hey, you want to go watch World Cup? And he's like, I don't know. And then he's like, America's playing. All of a sudden the guy's in a USA hat, and he's got the free bird blast, and he's like, yeah, we're going to go drink beers and we're going to cheer on America. And I think that's kind of the general consensus of a lot of people. At first, like, I don't really care. Well, it's like hockey. Now everyone's like, hey, when's the next game? What? Yeah. And I hate to, it's cliche. The belief is there now.
Well, and I think I've said this on the show before, John, but in years past, it feels like in the second half of games, of World Cup games, maybe the U.S. will be up a goal, or it'll be a tie game, and I'd never really truly feel comfortable. Now the vibe is totally different. I'm like, there are times in the second half where I've watched both games at Orion, and both times when I've watched the second half, I've kind of just been in and out. Like, I'm having conversations. I'm not really as fixed on the game as I would be because I just feel confident about the team. And I feel like just structurally, everything I'm seeing too, I haven't seen a better attack from a U.S. men's national team than I'm seeing right now. And, I mean, they just seem really dialed in. Russell Crowe's got them dialed in.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, it feels like we're watching the women's team.
Yes,
you know what I mean? We're like, we got
really
this.
Does.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Why is that? I mean, how is it? And without their best player too. I mean, how has that blossomed so well? And then the back end of that is, well, what happens when he comes back? Is there any concern of chemistry issues, or not at all? Because you got your striker.
The knockout round's going to be a different beast, right?
Absolutely. And I think pretty much we got Bosnia. I think that's
almost locked in.
Yeah,
just not certified yet.
Yeah, and we match up really well against them, and then you kind of take
look at
crazy.
the next round.
You're like, well, we could actually win that.
They can get to the quarters. Like, the path to the quarters is there.
Yes, and then you put that team on paper, like we said earlier. It's on paper we're a very good team, but they've actually for once shown it on the pitch. And
I think they've shown versatility too.
Absolutely.
Like tons of versatility. It just seems like there's ways to counter teams that are so aggressive, offensively. And from what I'm seeing from this team, there aren't a whole lot of weaknesses compared to what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and they have this swagger, and once you get any of those guys, you get that confidence going. Look out.
Yeah.
All right. Have there been some viewings of are you showing some of the other games here as well, the non-American games?
Absolutely. We had a bunch of people here for France the other day. Mexico brings in a bunch.
Right.
I know a lot of them go to Incas and support them with Julio, and I've heard those watch parties there are a lot of fun. I know
Richard Brazil's doing a Brazilian watch party too.
Yep. Which is great. I love pulling up my Facebook and seeing other places advertise, hey, we're showing the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I think that helps grow the game, and I think people are realizing, hey, people don't want to just watch football, baseball, whatever. We got soccer.
Yeah. We didn't really even get to touch on it, but what was it like just to see Messi play live like that?
It's awesome. I mean,
get the hat trick too,
and he just walks.
Yeah.
He walks. He doesn't run. He just. I said to my son,
saunters.
I was like, it's like a great white shark. He just kind of sits there, and then when he attacks, it's over. And then watching every time he touches the ball, you guys, 60,000 people were just
unbelievable.
It was goosebumps.
Kind of a religious experience.
It really was. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. And it was. I asked my son afterwards. I'm like, hey, do you want to get a jersey? Well, yeah, he ended up with a Messi jersey.
Of course.
Yeah.
So we know it's Bosnia, right? Wednesday, probably.
90% chance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it kind of feels like we have a good idea. That's the quote unquote knockout round, and that's the round of 32.
Yep.
And this is all single elimination from here on out.
Yep, knockout is. Yep.
Okay, so you get to 16, and I believe you mentioned it. I think that we're supposed to be favored in that game, no matter who we play as well. And I heard somebody already project who that's probably going to be, but it doesn't matter. Americans are favored. Like at this point, again, look at Vegas boards, somewhere around 8th or 9th right now. And then so I want to have the fun of potentially looking ahead to that. Like, what holds the Americans back now that you're likely running into France, Germany, Argentina, powerhouses like that?
The way it's set up, and correct me if I'm wrong, we probably wouldn't see Argentina until the championship.
Yeah, it wouldn't be.
And we wouldn't. The only one would be, I think, Spain, right?
Yeah, on the other side.
Germany's on the other side. So somehow, I'm sure FIFA, it's a little corrupt. It made it. Yeah, weird. I know. If I end up missing, it was them. It's set up really nice for USA to make this run.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, just looking at this team, I think the thing you're going to start to see the most is can the chemistry hold up?
Yep.
Because you're going to start to see teams that, Spain, France, Argentina, some of these teams, they have put together runs in the World Cup because they've been playing together, in Europe for years and years and years. And, the United States, their model has really shifted this World Cup where they were so kind of focused on homegrown talent in the past. Now they've shifted to that, bringing in some of those European players and really trying to find the best talent. And I think a lot of it, too, it's similar to what you saw when the U.S. won its hockey.
Yep.
You're just trying to find the right guys in the right spots.
Yep.
And chemistry, right? Like that to me, that seems like the big thing.
Yeah.
Right? Can that hold up in the knockout round?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens when they're down.
Yeah, 100%, because they haven't really encountered that adversity yet.
So that'll be when if they get hit and knocked first, how do they respond?
Yep.
I think they can.
For those coming kind of late to the World Cup party, besides the American games, who would you recommend, just players to watch? Again, the teams to watch, you guys have mentioned some of them, France, Spain, there's Argentina. Who are the players, I got to watch this guy? Because I know there's a guy from England. I think there's a guy from Norway who looks like Thor, that looks like a tight end. Like the Gronk of American soccer. If you wanted if somebody was actually I kind of want to get into this, and maybe even when the Americans aren't playing, because it is a week between most games, who would you recommend them watching?
Well, Leo, obviously, but I'd also Kylian Mbappe has had an unbelievable World Cup again.
Yep.
I believe he's he's now tied for second most World Cup goals. Messi has the lead now. He's got 18. And Mbappe's up there with 16.
Yeah.
And he's been unbelievable to watch too.
Yeah, they're on each team. They do a really good job. Fox has done a great job talking about the players prior. So it kind of gives you a little, if you tune in a half hour before, they'll kind of be like, hey, this is a person you need to watch for. And they've nailed it. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, watch for this guy on his left. And he hits one, so they've done a great job. But Ronaldo, Messi, it's the last dance. If they're playing, turn on the TV.
Yeah. Ronaldo turned it on, too, last game.
Yeah, he needed to.
He definitely needed to.
Hey, just one more time. It's Craven, American Outlaws Watch Party. If you're looking at a lot of space here, I think that's the good thing is it seems like, well, that's where everybody's going to be, right? Well, sure, but there's a lot of space indoors and outdoors to accommodate it. I mean, I think I saw some people bring out their kind of lawn chairs to watch. You have a big screen outside and tons of screens on the inside. Anything else people should know if they come to any of these American watch parties like tonight or next Wednesday at Craven?
I know it's a quote-unquote meaningless game, right? But I got to come out and see this. I just want to see the atmosphere, so I think we're going to come out tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And that screen it's remarkable. We've had people asking me, like, hey, how do I rent this? I'm like, well, for the whole World Cup, it's ours. Yeah. After that, I'll give you the name and number. But for all the USA games, we will have it. Bring your lawn chairs. You can stop by the American Outlaw tent. If you were getting into it, you sign up, you get a shirt, you get a scarf. It's just come ready to cheer on USA. Come ready to party.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else, Trent?
No, man.
We're good.
That sounds awesome.
Jackson Renschlaw, Craven, 69th and Louise. Appreciate it, Jackson. Thanks for stopping in. He'll be slinging. Are you going to be slinging drinks or a full throttle fan?
I'm going to be a fan. I do have to get back and rewatch it after the games, but yeah, full fan.
Oh. Yeah. So it's easy to tell when things are going well or not, though.
Yeah.
All right. For Jackson Renschler, Trent Singer, video producer Cordell Wright, I'm John. Happy hour. Cheers and go USA.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Cheers.
You need anything else, John?
No, I think I'm good, Greg. I think I'm going to tap out.
All right. Have a good night.